What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bridging the Gap. I'm AJ Malillo.
I'm Steve Rumbolo.
And we are really excited to be here today. We are at the Absecon Light House. It's the third tallest lighthouse in the country, and we're super excited for this. This is going to be a Memorial Day episode, the start of summer. And what are we gonna do this summer? These are some pretty cool things to do this summer. We're here with Milton at the Lighthouse, and he is the historian. He's our guide. He is the man with all the knowledge right now. Milton, thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for asking me to be on your show.
Of course.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're super excited. So it's a little bit of backstory for the audience at home as to why we decided to come to the Lighthouse. Steven and I and our buddy Nick one day were like, we need something to do. And we were in the area, and Nick was like, why don't we climb a lighthouse? And we were like, okay, sure. And we came down here, and we just fell in love with the place. We thought it was
awesome.
Super cool.
Dynamite.
That's when we met you, Milt, and I was like, we got to come back here. We got to bring everybody here because this place is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great. You guys have so much knowledge and insight, and it's really an awesome place.
To me, I think it's so remarkable, the history, and obviously we're going to learn about that as we speak with Milton. But to kind of have this historical structure and geographically where it is, you think about Atlantic City, everybody says casinos.
I know where you're going.
Bars, and then you're driving down the strip, and then out of nowhere, is this lighthouse. You have to see that. You drive by that, and there's no, excuse me, there's no explanation for it almost, because it looks so out of place.
Yeah.
And I know we can touch on the history of why that is. Why this is sitting inland as opposed to some people imagine lighthouses as being out in the bay. I'm very excited to learn and share and kind of take everybody on a little bit of a tour of the Absecon Lighthouse today.
So we wanted to show you, as we're climbing the lighthouse during this interview, what's going on. So here's the brick and mortar right here.
This is, what, how many 100 years old, wet? It's got that salt air he's talking about, just...
Exactly. So we're going to keep climbing the lighthouse. Each, section of the lighthouse, we're going to jump in. We're going to talk about what's going on. And this is the view from that first floor landing of the lighthouse. Maybe Steve can just flip it around, give you a little selfie view.
We'll do one of them. Look at us.
Yeah, so this is one floor down.
We're going up.
Yeah, it's going to be a super fun time. But Milton, let's start with this. Let's start with this is one of 3 sister lighthouses, and let's talk about the building and formation and why we made lighthouses to begin with. Just a little bit of the history of the Absecon Lighthouse.
Sure. Okay, so the history of Absecon Lighthouse can be traced all the way back to Atlantic City's founder. We call him the father of Atlantic City, Dr. Jonathan Pitney. Now, Dr. Pitney was a practicing physician in the Philadelphia area. And we believe that Dr. Pitney was a follower of holistic medicine. You see, at one point in time, a lot of people believed in the healing properties of Mother Earth. And, a lot of people still do. It's held very closely with a lot of people. And Dr. Pitney, instead of prescribing medication to his patients, would actually come out and say, look, here's the bottom line. You live, you work, and you spend a lot of your time in Philadelphia. And it's a busy metropolis. There's things going on all the time, and all of that energy is starting to just basically wear you down. My prescription is not pills, it's not medicine, it's R&R, rest and relaxation. There's a little growing community along the Jersey Shore called Atlantic City. My prescription to you is get away from here and take some time to go down there. I want you to splash around in the ocean. I want you to lie on the beach. I want you to breathe in the salt air. I want you to feel the warmth of that sun on you. And when you look back now at all of the things that we know today, he was pretty spot on. First off, we know that the sun gives us vitamin D, which our bodies need for strong bones and to stay healthy. A lot of people still believe in the healing properties of the ocean. That salt water, it pulls out the bad energy and allows you to relax. Again, breathing in the salt air, just allowing yourself to breathe in, breathe out. In with the good air, out with the bad. And I don't think there's a person that will be listening to your cast that can honestly say that when they're lying on the beach with their eyes closed and feel that sun hit them on the face, that they don't become completely relaxed and one with nature. And so people started to do that. They started listening to Dr. Pitney. In fact, so many people started listening that Atlantic City actually started getting the reputation as a health resort. And the resort concept started to build. And as time went on, Pitney realized the importance of what Atlantic City could be, and officially in 1854, because of him, we were recognized as a city here in the state of New Jersey.
All right, guys, we're on floor number 2. We just made it up. A little bit out of breath. Walking a lighthouse is way more activity than you think it is. Right here, we have these holes in the wall that I can send you guys in there. This is what Milton was talking about, the construction of the lighthouse, how it's got an interior and an exterior wall to allow for airflow, stability,
And keeping the lighthouse standing for over 100 years.
over 100
right?
years, which is remarkable. We got the view, and we're on our way up.
It's kind of just buildings right now, but we're on our way up.
We're on our way up. Number 3.
Yeah, it's so funny because you look at Atlantic City now, and it's totally
It's
not
completely
that.
different from what Pitney envisioned, trust me.
That's awesome, man.
That's right. I want you to go down to the beach for the healing properties, not spend your time in the smoke-infested casinos throwing your weekly paycheck away.
Exactly.
Hey, Johnny, I know you wanted to go to college, but unfortunately I lost it on the crap table.
But you know what? That's so often with history. That's what happens. It's this one vision. It becomes something totally different, and Atlantic City is no different from that. So my next question is then, what's the purpose of the lighthouse, though? Right?
Yeah.
So why do we have lighthouses, and why do we have this light?
Absolutely. Lighthouses were designed to literally be a beacon of light to warn ships that there are treacherous waters. Now, there are some lighthouses that are built out in the middle of, like, say, Lake Michigan on this giant rocky bluff. And that, of course, was because without that beacon, during a storm, a ship may run into those rocks. For what we're known as a coastal lighthouse. And our lighthouse is built to be a beacon to let sailors know, here's where the shoreline is. If you're sailing in the deep water and you're starting to run into a storm, visibility is poor, you could run the risk of running your ship aground. So we're here to let you know this is the shoreline. Keep your ship in the deep water. That was the original purpose of lighthouses, just to have a beacon to let ships know this is dangerous water. You're treading a little too close to something that could completely destroy your vessel, so stay away.
Right. So now, this is the third tallest lighthouse in the nation, right?
Actually, third tallest masonry lighthouse.
Okay.
Yes.
So what exactly does that mean?
Basically, masonry means, of course, anything that's made out of brick and mortar.
Right.
And out of all the lighthouses that are made out of those materials, we are the third tallest. Now, there are lighthouses that are made out of metal, which, of course, would be those that are in the middle of the lakes, because, that salt water, that would destroy us in just a matter of years. But made out of steel, that's going to be a little bit more stronger to hit the elements. There are some lighthouses that are made out of wood. They're called harbor lighthouses. That would actually be the house that the keeper and his family lived in, with the light built into the roof, and that would, of course, illuminate the harbor so that ships can sail in safely at night, and then, of course, moor up for the evening. It would have just that enough illumination so that they're not kind of sailing blind as they're trying to dock up for the night.
Sure. Yeah, I think that a lot of people just don't realize how important lighthouses were for a long time, and then they don't realize that another big benefit of a lighthouse like this, and we could talk about how tall it is and all that stuff, is nowadays this is perfect exercise. It's fun. You get to climb the lighthouse, you go up the steps and everything. So talk a little bit about the benefits of a lighthouse today, even though we might not see the same benefits as helping ships come into the to the harbor.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Look, if you're looking for good cardio, there's nothing better than to actually climb a lighthouse.
So we're on the third floor of the lighthouse, and it's tough to see through this camera angle, but basically we're overlooking Atlantic City West, so that's like all the casinos and everything over there. So like Milton was talking about, basically this place oversees Atlantic City, right? And we could see it from here. We could basically look down and see the strip. It's pretty awesome. And yeah, third floor. We got, I think, 4 more. We'll find out.
Something like that.
So we'll catch you at floor 4.
We have a membership program, and there are people that work in Atlantic City that, they work behind a desk. This is the option for them to come on out, climb, get a good workout. So on that aspect, yeah, it's wonderful for exercise. It's also, if you're a history buff, you're not going to find, something that probably has as much history in an area than a lighthouse. Every single lighthouse that's been built has a story behind it. Our story was because, so many ships were crashing along our shoreline here in Atlantic City. The sailors actually nicknamed the waters off Atlantic City the Graveyard Inlet. And it was actually Pitney who petitioned Congress to be able to have the Absecon Lighthouse built. In fact, let me give you a little background story on that.
Please.
In 1855, there was a passenger ship called the Powhatan, and it was sailing across the Atlantic Ocean from the ports of France, carrying 311 European immigrants on it. They were all coming to America to start a brand new life, and their destination was the ports of New York.
Right.
They sailed across the ocean perfectly fine, but as they got close to New York harbors, they ran into a winter nor'easter, and that nor'easter blew the Powhatan completely off its course. It actually crashed about 40 miles north of here along the beaches of Long Beach Island, New Jersey.
Sure.
Unfortunately, there were no survivors. All 311 passengers died in that storm, and approximately 60 of those bodies washed up along the beach and back bay here in Atlantic City. And if any of your viewers are ever around the town of historic Smithville, which is, of course, Smithville, New Jersey, right off of Route 9, there is a Methodist church across the street from the shops of Smithville. Now, that Methodist church was originally a Quaker church, but there is a mass grave where those 60 bodies are buried in the cemetery, and there's a plaque that tells of the story of the Powhatan. Now, Pitney, of course, being the doctor that he was and taking the Hippocratical oath to save lives, realized a lighthouse needs to be built. And when he wrote a letter to Congress telling them this tragedy, Congress realized, yes, we do. We can never have something like that happen again. And that's when they commissioned the Absecon Lighthouse to be built.
All right, guys. Floor 4.
I don't know, Stephen, it feels like there's more steps every time we do this.
It's got to be some kind of sick trick that they're playing on us. So right now, on floor 3, we were looking at Atlantic City West, casinos, the whole strip, everything. The view we're looking at right now, is Atlantic City South, which, the beautiful ocean.
Yes.
The graveyard of the Atlantic, as he was talking about. So this is where that light would have been pointed to alert the ships that you guys heard Milton talking about that were coming in to Atlantic City.
Right, and it's interesting that they're calling it southbound, because wouldn't that be
Technically be east.
But whatever.
It's lighthouse stuff.
It's the lighthouse stuff. You wouldn't understand
get
it
it.
until the end of this episode.
On to floor 5.
And so the Absecon Lighthouse was also built with 2 other lighthouses.
Yes.
That's the Barnegat Lighthouse and the Cape May Lighthouse.
That is
right?
correct.
So let's talk about what made those lighthouses different, why those 3 came in at the same time. And,
Sure.
And yeah.
We were the prototype, and the gentleman who actually oversaw our construction was, later in his military career as General George Meade. He, of course, led the Union Army to victory at the Battle of Gettysburg.
Right.
But as a fresh young graduate of West Point Military Academy, Lieutenant Meade's specialty was engineering and overseeing the construction of lighthouses. So being that he was the, fresh face of West Point, Congress asked him to oversee our construction. So from 1855 in December to January of 1857, he oversaw our construction. And our light was first lit January 15th, 1857. We look at that as our anniversary date. So when you do the math, we're 165 years old, the oldest building in Atlantic City. Now, he did such a great job with us that Congress said, okay, take your design and make it work for 2 more areas. So 40 miles north of us in Barnegat, New Jersey, he oversaw the construction of the Barnegat Lighthouse, very similar to our design, but just a few feet shorter than we are. And then when he was done there, they asked him to oversee the construction of the Cape May Lighthouse, 40 miles south. So because he oversaw us, Barnegat, and Cape May, we kind of nicknamed ourselves the ABC Lighthouses: Absecon, Barnegat, and Cape May.
Awesome. Yeah, that's such a cool story.
I think one of the most interesting things about the construction of the lighthouse is the glass installed on the top. And I know there's a lot of history and a lot of remarkable science and engineering that goes into how those glasses function, because what's the range when this light was lit?
When our light is lit, it can be seen 19 and a half nautical miles out at sea. Now, to put that in, U.S. standard, that's just shy of 23 standard miles. Basically, 23 miles is approximately half the distance from Atlantic City to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's how far out a ship can be and see the light of our beacon from when it's lit at night.
Yeah, that's
crazy, isn't
yeah.
it?
And it was done in 1855, so just put that into perspective. But yeah, to Stephen's point, let's talk about the lens that is put there, because we know that the lens itself is pretty remarkable.
Absolutely. The lens is made out of lead crystal, and to put it to you easily, it's made up of a whole slew of prisms. Now, if we go back to 5th grade science class, remember, when sunlight shines through a glass prism, it breaks up into the color spectrums of the rainbow. What was discovered by the inventor of the lighthouse lens, Augustin Jean Fresnel, was that when natural light, or in this case, light from a fire flame, shines through, instead of breaking it up, it actually condenses it. It makes the light much more stronger. Fresnel, in his experiments with light reflection and refraction, also realized that being that a prism is triangular, if you angle each one of those prisms just right, when the light shines through, reflects off the sides, and shoots out, you now can actually manipulate that beam to shine in any direction you want. So each one of the prisms that's set in a lighthouse lens is angled so that when it shines through, it shines in a completely horizontal plane across the surface of the earth. Fresnel's prototype, it looks like some kind of a, Flintstones whirlybird that you'd see from the cartoons. It's crazy. It was literally just a kerosene lamp surrounded by glass prisms. But he was able to prove that those prisms now can magnify that single fire flame from the lamp well over 1,000 times its natural brightness. France, realizing the importance of his design and how it was now going to revolutionize lighthouses and allow that beam to be seen for miles out, jumped on it. And well into the 1900s, they were the country to go to make and manufacture a lighthouse lens.
It's remarkable. I mean, you think about these people that, it seems like people think in history like, we live in the smartest time ever. Yeah. Nobody is as smart as we are today. But, I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to find anybody that could do something like that.
Granted, we don't make Fresnel lenses like the size of it. Our lens is 8.5 feet tall and actually weighs over 6 tons, 12,800 pounds. But don't get me wrong, Fresnel lenses are still very much used today. Stage lighting for a show or a concert, all of those lamps, they use Fresnel lenses. They are still lamps because it's able to then concentrate that light into that beam that goes right where it needs to go.
Well, what I think is so remarkable, and everything that we've learned so far about lighthouses, is like you said, there's elements of these things that exist in everyday life.
Sure.
And they kind of all culminate in this, standing pillar that quite literally draws attention to itself. And it's one of those things that you kind of have to get to, experience, and take the time to learn about to appreciate what it is.
Correct.
All right, guys. 5th landing now, and I think we figured it out. They have these papers here, and I think they just talk about what's going on in the direction. So we're still facing east here, and we were facing east down there. But anyway, if you look back here, there's these on the pole, And that's in memory of people that walked it, people that donated to the lighthouse, a whole bunch of things. So as we climb up, we see them on the steps, and then they ran out of steps of people that volunteered and donated and gave money and stuff. So they started putting them on the pole here, which is pretty cool.
All right.
On to 6.
Catch you on 6.
And you're absolutely right. One of the things that I've learned from people that come in, and first, we get visitors from all around the world. But for some people, the only experience they ever had with a lighthouse is looking at a piece of art that has a lighthouse painted on the shoreline, and there's Bambi and Thumper and all their forest friends jumping all around, but that's the only thing they've ever seen a lighthouse. So to actually come, experience, climb, meet the volunteers, learn their history. Once you do that, it gets in your blood. I didn't know lighthouses from Adam when I was growing up as a kid. Now that I work at one, my wife and I, when we plan our vacations, depending upon where we're going, we will look specifically to see if there's a lighthouse in the area so that we can go learn its history and climb it.
Yeah.
It does. It just gets into your blood, and it just becomes such a remarkable thing to go and visit and learn about and experience that, you want to do it all the time.
Yeah, well, you know what, I think it comes down to and I think you said it, you hit the nail on the head, the people. It's the people that when you come to the lighthouse and you see that passion, and it's in anything in life. When people have a passion about something, it draws people there. Yeah. And that's what drew us in. So let's talk a little bit about the people. Let's talk about you and how you came to work at the lighthouse.
Sure.
Right?
I was in business to business sales about 10 years ago. And when we had the Great Recession during the Obama administration, money all of a sudden wasn't there. And when people aren't spending money, businesses don't want to order, they don't want to advertise, they don't want to do anything because they're scared. So my book all of a sudden started to dry up. And one conversation in my business manager's office led to another, which eventually led me to being unemployed. So going into my second year of unemployment, my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, basically said, look, I know you're out there, I know that you're trying to get interviews, I know that you're online looking at job websites, but you need to stay in touch with people. That's what your specialty is. You know how to talk to people. You were great in sales, but you need to keep those skills up. So why don't you go out and volunteer somewhere? Meet people. Keep those skills practiced. And Kim and I had been to several functions here at the Absecon Light House in the past, and she said, why don't you reach out to them? They're always looking for volunteers. So being that I am a born and raised native of Atlantic City, I reached out, came on board as a volunteer, and after about a year, my predecessor chose to move on in her professional career. So I was asked to submit my resume, and here I am, about 10 years now as operations coordinator and educational coordinator.
It's crazy how life sort of guides you in a direction.
Yeah.
And I personally, and obviously I've met you twice now, I just feel like this is what you're meant to do,
Definitely.
man. Like, this is awesome. You're so good at it.
Not only do we have a history, but Atlantic City has a history as well. And fortunately for me, like I said, I was born and raised here. This is my hometown. Now, I went to college in central Pennsylvania. I've lived in Northeast Philly. I've even lived up in Midtown Manhattan, but I always came back home. So for me to be able to sit with you guys, or for me to be able to talk to, Mr. and Mrs. Visitor, even if I can just, install some history of the knowledge in the kids, that's what it's all about for me. This is my home. I'm proud of Atlantic City, and I want people to be able to enjoy what I know on their own terms.
I love it.
I think what you're saying is it's all very personal. Like I feel that. I'm very proud of where I'm from. I live in Ortley Beach, so another shore town on the ocean. It's a totally different way of life. And one thing that I wanted to touch on, especially with the Lighthouse, And you even mentioned it when you said you and your wife, when you plan visits, you want to go see the lighthouse there.
Yeah.
I think that's because, I know it's because there's so much history of the place and the community that the lighthouse represents.
Yeah.
And to have people, individuals like you, who are passionate about it, who really have a deep sense and yearning to share that history and be proud of it, is such an interesting thing to think about when you look at a lighthouse, because it's not anybody's first impression.
Right. Yeah.
So what kind of community involvement are you involved with here in the lighthouse? Like how does the lighthouse interact with the Atlantic City community?
Atlantic City is broken down into 6 neighborhoods, or wards as we call it. You go to New York, we got Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, the Bronx. Same kind of thing here. We've got 6 wards, and we're located in the 1st ward. So we predominantly try to do stuff in our own community. We're part of a group of merchants and restaurants known as the North Beach, and we all kind of try to promote around here. A perfect example, and we'll give you one of these flyers, is what we're doing on May 7th. We're actually doing a spring festival. We're trying to kick off that warm weather that's coming. We're trying to let everyone know, hey, it's going to be outside. If Mother Nature works with us, take off the ski jacket, put on a nice windbreaker, come on out and enjoy yourselves. All the proceeds come to us, but we also do things to give back to the community. One of the things we do in October is we actually purchase pumpkins, and we open our doors so that kids and their families can come here and pick up a pumpkin complimentary of the lighthouse. Instead of going to, the big box stores and throwing it in the grocery bin, here's a place where they're all over. We're talking a couple hundred of these things placed all around our grounds, and the kids can walk around and pick their own pumpkin. Just all sorts of things. During Halloween, we have a haunted story time. It's always the Saturday before actual Halloween, where we have people come on in. They can walk around with us, our volunteers, learn about the haunted stories that have been circulating around the lighthouse for over a century. Learn about why it was called the Graveyard Inlet. Learn about the rumor that the Jersey Devil came to visit the lighthouse at one point in time during the turn of the century. And then that's usually from 6 to 8. And then for a selected group of people that get their reservations in early, we actually have a 2-hour paranormal investigation. We are a recognized haunted property, and there's a great group of paranormal investigators known as NJ Rope. It's an acronym for New Jersey Researchers of Paranormal Evidence, and they're fantastic. They've worked with us many times in the past, and during those 2 hours, you can walk around with them, and they will take you to the hot spots, and you can actually be part of a true paranormal investigation.
That's awesome.
It's crazy, but I'm telling you, look, I was one of those. I'm a skeptic. I am. If Bigfoot wants me to believe in him, he better be here at 5 o'clock so we can go pound a couple back. But I have seen and experienced things in the paranormal from working here that it just blows my mind. And these are just the tip of the iceberg of some of the things that we do in our community.
All right, guys, we're on floor 6.
We're almost there.
Almost there. We got a very special man waiting upstairs for us. His name's Buddy. He's an incredible volunteer. Climbs this tower on weekends.
Whenever he volunteers, so we'll find out more when we get up.
We'll find out more when he gets up there. AJ and I, we're young men. We're fit. We're a little winded. I think you guys will be surprised when you see Buddy. And let's just
We'll keep the suspense.
We'll keep the suspense.
We'll see you on floor 7.
We'll see you on floor 7.
Yeah, that's so cool. We're gonna have to come back in October. We're gonna
All
have to come
right,
back.
just to let you know, we work on a month-to-month basis, so don't call me tomorrow and say I want to book my reservation.
Sounds good.
Wait till September.
Sure, but that's so cool. I love it. And the community is so important, and I think something else. To me, hearing all this, I have this visual in my mind. It's like the lighthouse overlooked the growth of Atlantic
Yeah.
City. Like, it's been here the whole time. It's seen the casinos and the high rises come and things come and go. And I think that it's so awesome. Like you said, it's the history that's in the bricks of the lighthouse is remarkable. And I just really appreciate that. And I guess I don't really have a question. It's just kind of a...
No, yeah, I hear it all the time. Folks come here and say, when I was a kid, I used to come to Atlantic City with my grandparents. And I remember going to the Steel Pier and seeing the diving horse. I remember, going into the diving bell that took you down to the bottom of the ocean. But I never knew there was a lighthouse here. And that's always kind of been the albatross around our neck. Once people get to the last casino, and the last casino is only about 2 blocks away from us, but they don't want to venture any further than that. They kind of think that's the end of Atlantic City, and that's not the case. We were here long before any of that stuff was. We were here when there was nothing but just sand, an entire 10.5-mile long island of sand. You've got the lighthouse here. You've got Gardner's Basin along the back part of Atlantic City, which was the original port of call. That's where the bootleggers used to unload their hooch under the dark of night to get it all over Atlantic City during the days of Prohibition. There's just so much history in this town, not only with us, but the town in general. And again, like I said, from one who was born here, one who was raised here, one whose father was born and raised in Atlantic City. The history is just so deep and rich that we just want to invite everybody, not only to come see us, but to come see all of Atlantic City. The glitz and glam is always going to be there. The casinos aren't going away anytime soon. But that doesn't mean that you need to stay there for your entire time in this town.
All right, we're making our way up to the top.
This is the most steps.
Most steps. We got a special guest waiting for us upstairs.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I'm going to let Steven have any final questions he has, and then we're going to have to wrap up. But it's remarkable, like you said, and you just feel the passion, and I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think probably the coolest thing that you said is that you're 2 blocks away from the last casino, and everybody thinks it's the end. And the point of our show, the point of this, in the context of New Jersey specifically, is take that extra step, and you more often than not will be fulfilled, overwhelmed, surprised, shocked. There's so many things waiting for you beyond what you expect the end to be. And in this case, I would say, you said, Atlantic City ends there. I would say Atlantic City starts here.
Yeah. What you just said to me is the perfect tag to end the show. Take that extra step. It really is. And yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so we have 2 last questions that we ask everybody, right? One is easy and one's going to be hard. I'm going to warn you that right now.
Sure.
So the easy one we'll get out of the way. Where, if people are interested in coming, contacting the people at the Lighthouse, you in particular, where can people sort of find you and contact you?
If you Google things to do in Atlantic City, we usually come up in the top 5, if not the number 1. Because so many people are looking to visit us, and B, because A is alphabetically Absecon.
So fair.
Yeah, exactly. But you can always learn about us by going to our website, which is www.abseconlighthouse.org, or just Google Absecon Lighthouse. We have a Facebook page. We're on Twitter. That's where you're going to find all the information. Everything from upcoming events to our hours to the rates to just the history of the lighthouse. It's all on our website. That's
Awesome.
The best way to do it.
All right, and Steven's going to ask you the hardest question of the entire interview. Okay?
Hardest question. So we're a Jersey show. We're in New Jersey's one of our most remarkable cities, in a historic Jersey building with a Jersey guy through and through. If you're, let's say you're taking the ride home, turn on the radio. You got Bruce Springsteen or Bon Jovi. Who are you listening to?
I'm actually a Jimmy Buffett parrot head guy. So.
Great answer.
I love Jimmy Buffett. I do love.
But I
Jimmy
will
Buffett.
tell you though, Bruce is in my heart.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bruce
sir.
is in my heart.
Bruce has taken a bit of a lead over John Bon Jovi, but we'll see with the more interviews. But Steven is very happy with that. He's the
Very.
Bruce.
I had Atlantic City playing on the ride down here today.
In fact, I'm just going to say it was probably a genius of marketing to put Springsteen's XM channel right next to, of course, Little Steven's Underground Garage. So all I
Yes.
got to do is toggle between both of them, and I'm good to
You're
go.
good.
Back
You're
and forth.
Well, Milt, thank you so much for this interview. It was a pleasure meeting you. There's going to be clips going throughout this interview of us walking, and I guarantee you it's going to end with us talking to Buddy upstairs.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Gentlemen, thank you again for reaching out to us. And please, I want all of your viewers to come, not only visit us, but to visit Atlantic City. Like I said, we have over 100 years of history. We have restaurants that at one point in time were speakeasies here in town. There's just so much to do and so much to experience, and it's because of fellas like you that have a passion to get the word out about what New Jersey has, that we're able to do what we do. Thank you so much for coming here and wanting to spread the word about the Absecon Light House with your viewers.
Of course.
Thank you.
Well, guys, we did it.
We're at the top. I had to put my sunglasses on. It's so beautiful out today.
We made it. Behind us, the beautiful Atlantic City,
The strip.
the beautiful Atlantic Ocean. We're gonna take a few laps around here, get some pictures going, and then we got an awesome, second little bonus interview.
Exactly. You get to meet Buddy, so stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned.